everybody, welcome to Harmon Garage. I'm Aaron, and today me and Pops are going to go on a little bit of an adventure. As you can see, I got Burb Nasty jumping off old Pennywise, and some of you will be happy to see that Pennywise is actually hooked to a trailer and moving. Now, I'm not going to say it's right, I'm not going to say it's ready to go, but we've got a project that we got to go pick up, and that's the only thing I got that'll tow it. So we're gonna try to limp it over to where we gotta go, limp it back. It's probably about 100 miles, and we'll see what happens. But battery's dead, it's a pain in the butt, and it's still not right from when the motor gave me problems on the trip to Texas. So we're gonna baby it over there, baby it back, and I'll show you guys what we're getting when we get there. Alright, well, as you can see, back over there somewhere, we got her all loaded up. I didn't pass out, but it was close. And we made it over here to the gas station to fill the thirsty pig up. And now we're gonna hit the highway and take our trip back home. So here it is, real quick walk around, and I'll catch you guys up and give you a better one when we get back home. But 1980, 1 ton. It's got like a old school repo rig in the back of it, and we need a bedside. You got a bedside, let us know. We need a bedside. Other than that, it looks pretty good. I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I need to sit in the shade and get some liquids in myself, which is the perfect thing to do while we're driving back home. So I'm gonna get to it. We'll catch up with you in a little bit. We made it back to the shop. We got it unloaded as you saw, and here it is. Like I mentioned before, it's a 1980 C30 Silverado, and it's been sitting since sometime in the 90s. I don't have an exact year, but let's just say 30 years. Has this wrecker, kind of like a repo rig set up in the back of it, and that's going to be coming out, but for right now we're just going to do a will it start on it and see if we can get it running. The bed on this side is hammered bad, but we've already come up with a new bed for it. We're just going to need a passenger dually fender, which isn't that huge of a deal. They're kind of pricey, but not that bad. So rather than that, it's not in that bad of shape. But before I get into working on it too much and doing a full-on walk around of it, I'll give you guys a little sneak peek of the inside. It's a Silverado, it's fancy, but give you guys a little sneak peek of the inside. I'm trying to, should have a hood release in here, but it doesn't. So I need to get the hood open. There we go. I'll be right back. So anyways, hood's open. Got a 454 in it, and AC cab. Everything seems to be pretty complete. It's an automatic truck. So, as you may have seen in the background, Pops is dragging the pressure washer out for me. I'm going to take the pressure washer to this thing and get it cleaned up before I start working on it, because it's got poison ivy growing on it and it's just filthy, nasty, like bad. So we're gonna get it all cleaned up the best that we can for now, on the outside, engine compartment, whatnot, and then we'll start seeing, will it start? Okay, I had to take a little break. It's hot today, and for some reason my body's just not coping with the heat good this summer. I don't know what it is. I'm getting old, or I'm just whining or something. I don't know. But I wanted to show you guys before, after. Obviously the windshield's not clean, but it looked like that. Now you can see through it. And then I got this fender done, and it is what it is, but that's how it looked before. So I'm gonna do some time lapsing. I'm just gonna keep squirting some water and get this thing cleaned up so we can start doing something with it. we got this truck. I jokingly named this thing Humpty Dumpty to the guy that it belongs to yesterday. So we're gonna call her old Humpty Dumpty. But we got her washed up, we got her cleaned up, and we got it brought up here in the shade where I'm not getting beat up by the sun all day working on it. And we took the hood off because it was bent and didn't give a lot of room, makes it harder to film with it in the way, and I have to fix it anyways. So we got it off. Like I said, it's got an old 454 turbo 400 automatic, and I kind of already did a walk around with you guys. This side's not in that bad. I'm just kidding. Dually fender's fixable. I went ahead and took the wheel lift deal off of it so we could push it, and just so it wasn't hanging out. This side is beat. That's all I can say. So inside is actually in pretty good shape. The last time this thing was registered was 1998, and it sat there, and all of that overgrowth or algae and whatever else that was on the windshield and the side windows kept it from getting ate up in here. So the seat's in good shape. It's not even cracked or ripped or torn or nothing. It needs a very, very thorough cleaning, but other than that, it's good. And there's nothing else exciting inside the truck. So see what we got in the toolbox. Nothing. And a bunch of garbage in the bed. So I guess there's nothing exciting to look at or talk about on the truck. So we'll just have to get started with the will it start, will it run, will it drive, will it do anything other than get towed back off the concrete and parked. So we'll get set up, get some stuff over here, and we're not going to reuse that. And we'll get started on our will it start. Alright, let's get started on this thing. So I hope that this one goes a little bit smoother than the Suburban did, but I hope it fights us enough that it's an exciting video. So, carburetor's free, choke plate's been removed. That's interesting. There's a lot of wires that are like stripped and twisted together with no tape or anything on them in this truck. Like I see them all over the low pressure switch on the ACs like that. We got some wires back there that are. We got some wires over there that are. Bad shape. Wow, this thing still got green coolant in it. About a little over 3/4 full. That's good. Not bad for sitting for 26 years. Oil's dirty, but smells like oil. And it's full. So that's good. That'll get us going for now. What else can we check? Can't really check the transmission fluid completely, but we can see that it has fluid in it and it's bright red. That's a good sign. That means somebody either changed it right before it got parked because the tranny was acting up, or the tranny's still in good shape. One or the other. I'm going to hope for the first. Or the later. You know what I mean. I'm going to hope for the better of the two. Let's see if we can get this thing to move. Not that way we can't. Let me get a bar and a socket. I don't know if I'll be able to get on it from up here or underneath for that matter. this will try to go underneath because I can't even get my hands down there. Dad, what? I need the socket in. Hold on to it. Try to turn it.
Well, we tried putting a ratchet on the front end of the engine to turn it. We couldn't get to it. Now he's down on the
flex plate.
On the flex plate
With a pry bar.
With a pry bar, and every little bit that he moves, it's turning. So we're guessing this thing isn't locked up.
So we're just gonna turn it a little bit, make one full revolution. And
we're gonna turn it where it makes one complete revolution and then go with that and hope it's good.
Alright, well, as you saw, I got down under there with a pry bar and turned the motor between the starter and the flex plate, and it cranked over pretty easy. And that's good. We like that. So I'm going to... Alright, this is interesting. We have a battery cable going over there. That means they were running two batteries. We've got one that's going back to the back, which tells me that it was going to the winch tow truck setup back there. And then I've got one here that goes down to the starter. So before I hook a battery up, I'm going to take all of this off and only hook the starter up. I don't need to be sending power anywhere else. Uh-oh.
I see it.
Okay, so that one's going back to the wrecker bed. This one's going across the truck. So this one we need to keep on there. All those other wires will get eliminated. We're not going to make this a wrecker again. The wrecker's coming out, because this is just going to be the tow vehicle for my buddy. So we'll clean it all up and get all the unnecessary stuff out of it. You go make sure the key is turned off for me, please. Alright, I got a battery.
Does it have a push button?
What?
Does it have a push button to shut it off?
Shouldn't. It might under the column, but it shouldn't. It's not. Is it in park?
It's in park, but it's not shutting off.
Lift up on the shifter while you try to turn it off.
Nope.
You can. If it doesn't touch anything, it'll be okay, but if it touches anything, it might not be. Somebody put a positive terminal end on negative. I'm going to tighten it down.
Somebody know that the negatives are smaller than the positives.
Yep. Alright, that's not the right way to do that. And before this is all said and done, we will get a new end, maybe a whole new cable for this, and maybe a new cable for the power too, but that'll get us going for a second anyways. Now I'm going to have Pops go turn the key on, and we'll wait a minute and make sure nothing explodes. Alright, so some reason we don't have any power to anything, and the ignition switch will not move. So Dad went to get the Power Pro, Pops did. We're going to start. Yeah, this battery could be dead. I don't think it's that dead, but it could be dead.
Well, powered that up, so.
It says, well, I got it on the charger, so it says we got 14.6 volts. Should have power here. No, we don't. And we don't have power there. So, should have power coming up off our starter and feeding all this stuff. Yeah, we're not getting power to our fuse box. All right, well, I started sorting around, searching around, trying to figure out why I wasn't getting power to anything. And the first place I went was down to the starter, and I bumped a wire on the starter, and Pops goes, "Hey, you got a turn signal." And I started looking around, and I found this. This part here was welded to the exhaust manifold, and everything was all shorted out, and the cable was just junk. So I ran over to the parts store, got a new cable, got a new negative battery terminal in. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those ran, and we'll hook them up. And there's a couple other wires for the starter down there that I need to fix. I'll get those fixed up. I'll bring you guys back, show you what I did on them all, and then we'll see if we got power on this thing. All right, it's been a little while. I rewired all the wiring that goes to the starter, new battery cable, new ground cable end, both power wires that feed the fuse box that come off of the starter I replaced up to where they were good, and my exciter wire I patched in. So you can see here we got all our new red, white, and blue wires, because, you know, America. You go down and hook to the starter. We got our new positive, we got our negative fixed, and I cheated. I already checked it, and it cranks on the key. So we're going to check and see if we got power at our distributor next, and then if we have power at our distributor, we'll go ahead and pull the plug wire off, see if we got spark. If we got spark, I think this one's gonna be a little bit too easy, but we're gonna try it, see what happens. All right, come over here, unplug my ignition source from my distributor cap. That's a ground signal, so it doesn't have power right now. If I can get Pops to go and turn the key on, we will key on. We got 12.4 volts, so we do in fact have power to our coil. So now I will pull the spark plug wire off, just number one, because that's what everybody always does. I got an old plug here that's extremely fouled out and probably wouldn't spark if everything was good. Dad, do you want to go ahead and go crank on it? Try it again. And now our starter wants to be a pain. Might end up having to put a starter in this thing. Try it again. Let me beat on it with a hammer. Alright, I'm just going to give the starter a couple of easy, graceful taps. See if it wants to function a little better. No. Whoa. Again.
Yeah, you got spark.
See, all right. Don't drag on the starter. It is sparking.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys saw that too. I should be able to zoom you in there where you can see it. Luckily Pop saw it because I didn't, so.
Yeah, you had good spark coming out.
Alright, so we do have spark, which is good. It cranks when it wants to, which is decent. So, the only other thing that we need is fuel. The mechanical pump has been disconnected, and there is a electric pump in there that I disconnected, and I have fuel completely disconnected from the carburetor. So for the time being right now, we're going to try to get a little juice in this thing so it'll spin a little faster, and once we can get it spinning a little bit faster, maybe we'll try choking it with some gas and seeing what it wants to do. Alright, we got spark. Hopefully the battery's got enough juice, and don't stand in front of the truck, Dad. I moved you guys off to the side so you don't get run over, and put a little gas in the carb, so let's see if it wants to spin. Come on. Sounds like it wants to. Yeah, we're gonna need a starter.
Want to put some more in it?
Yeah. Squeeze it. Put it in both sides. We gotta let the battery charge up a little bit more and try it again. Alright, we've been letting the battery charge for a while. While we were letting the battery charge, like I told you, I figured the fuel pump was probably bad because they had bypassed it and ran an electric pump. And I happen to have a fuel pump on the shelf over here for a big block off of another one of my big block motors. So I went ahead and changed it out, and I started to run a temporary fuel system, but I don't have it all hooked up yet. So we still want to make sure that it's going to run. A big block, so we'll go ahead and give her a little bit of extra fuel here, and then cross your fingers and hope it actually cranks when he hits the key.
Is that hose away from the fan there?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, sure. Hit it again. Alright, hold on. Try it. Hold on. Try it. Try it again. Keep going. Keep going.
I get nothing now.
This thing is pissing me off. Alright, well, I guess we'll dink with it some more and see if we can get a starter to actually try to start. Alright, well, we just got it to start for a second. I shut it right back off, And we're gonna see if we can get it to go again for you guys to see. So I'll fill the bowl back up on the carburetor with the remainder of the gas I have. And Pops is gonna hit the key. Son of a gun. There it is. It starts. Enough that I feel comfortable hooking a fuel system up to it and seeing if we can get that to work. So, like I said, I got a fuel pump put in. I got a return line and a feed hose running down under the truck. I can put gas in a bucket I got over there, a container, and then I got this hose right here coming off of the pump. I just got to hook it into the carburetor. So I'm going to hook that up real quick, and I'll see if I can get this thing to actually sit here and idle for a little bit. All right, it's a runner. I got my fuel system hooked up down there off of the mechanical pump that I put on, and he's running good. It's got a little rattle, something's rattling. Not in the motor, it's around the truck. I'm not sure what it is, but trying to adjust the idle down a little bit. It had it set way high for some reason, probably because it was running on an electric pump. But doesn't appear to be smoking at all, like at all. Sounds pretty good. For a glass pack, I mean, not a big block, what do you expect? So, this exhaust is falling off, it's blowing in the dirt, but he's a runner. I don't think my gauges are working because the oil pressure's been maxed out since before I started it. And the temperature was showing temperature before I started it too, so I don't know if I trust those. So I don't want to let it run too long. Oil burning off, that's stuff burning off. Or burning stuff off of the exhaust pipe. So yeah, I'm gonna get my temp gun, keep an eye on the temperature because I want to let it run for a little bit, kind of get everything synced back in and whatnot. But I don't want to overheat it to seat it up, you know what I mean? So we're starting to get some smoke coming off the motor. It's probably years of mouse crap and pee and whatever else. And yeah, we're not even starting to get hot. We're only at 130 degrees. I don't know what's rattling. Probably the battery bouncing in the battery box. That makes sense. So, but he's running. Accelerator pump works good. Old carburetor's doing a good job, and I didn't even clean it or nothing. I didn't even spray any cleaner in it. Didn't do anything to it. So pretty happy. Like I said, I'm gonna let it run for a little bit and see how it does, and then maybe we'll start working on actually putting a fuel system on this thing. So see you in a little bit. All right, it's the next day. Me and Pops are back over here ready to work again, and today I'm going to start off with fuel system. We want to have this thing, seeing if we can drive it by the end of the day, and in order to try to drive it, I'm not even going to touch the brake pedal. I want to replace the rubber hoses. It's been sitting for way too long. Not even going to mess with them. I got new ones coming. We'll put new rubber brake hoses on it. We'll re-bleed the whole brake system, and then we'll try to drive it. But in the meantime, I don't want to drive it around with a fuel jug hanging from the push bar here. We're trying to get this truck to be where it can be driven. So why waste time making more temporary fuel systems and all that just to drive it when we're eventually gonna have to drop the tank and get that sorted out anyways. So I got her jacked up, the tank back under here. So I'm gonna get under there. I'm gonna get that tank drug out of there. I'll bring you guys back, show you what we got. All right, I got the tank out. It only had like 3 of the 8 bolts that it was supposed to have in it. So when I put it back in, I'll make sure I put at least 4, you know, do it right. I'm gonna go ahead and blow it off because I don't want to get any added stuff down in there when I take the sending unit out. So I'll blow it off real good, and then we'll pop the ring if it'll move, and get that sending unit out, and we'll be able to look down in there and see what we're working with. It does have 1/4, 1/3 to a 1/2 tank of fuel in it probably, and it's 28 years old, so there's no telling what we're going to see when we open this thing up.
Right there if you want to sit on it.
That's all right. Never seen. What in the heck kind of crap is that? What? That's a new one.
Yeah, it don't even smell like gas.
I'd say it kind of smells like old gas. Kinda. I don't know. Flashlight. Alright guys, I'm going to bring the other camera over here, and I'll let you guys look down in this thing same time I look down in it and see what we see. Alright. It's yellow and creamy. There's a little bit of rust in the tank, but it doesn't look too bad. Can you tip it? Like up, not way, not a lot, but a little bit. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh yeah, the bottom of the tank's got a bunch of crap in it. Alright, go ahead and set it down. I can try to clean this out, but I have other tanks sitting around here. So I'm gonna check out some of the other tanks that I got sitting around, and if I got one that's already clean. I know it's the lazy way out, but it's the smart way out. We got one that's already clean, I'll go ahead and slap it in there, and that'll put us ahead of the game. So that has a lot to do with being a hot rod hoarder. I mean, I keep everything. So we'll see if I got another tank. If we do, that's what'll go in. If not, we'll work on cleaning this one out. All right, pardon the wind if it's getting you, but the other tank that I had, I checked it and it leaked. So it's not gonna do us any good, so we're cleaning this one. I got a handful of nuts here, and just gonna drop them in there. And then I got a gallon of some lacquer thinner. We're gonna put it in there and shake it around, shake it around, shake it around, and we'll dump out what we can and get the shop back and shop back the rest out. So there goes nothing. Reason I use lacquer thinner, some people use diesel fuel, some people use CLR, whatever. Lacquer thinner helps break up the gunky old fuel, and it evaporates, so if you don't get it all out, it's not hurting anything, it's not staying in there. So now we're just what do you think?
That's pretty clean.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get much else out of it. Alright, we got it pretty clean. I'll show you guys after we get it all dumped out. We gotta get the shop vac and get it all vacuumed out and everything, and then I'll bring it back and show it to you guys before I put the sending unit back in. I still got to clean that out and get all the junk off of it also. So we'll do what we got to do, and I'll show it all to you before I put it back in. All right, we got it all cleaned out, looking good. Still a little damp, but it should all be evaporated and ready to go by the time I get it bolted back up in there and get it hooked up. So that's the only sending unit I have. I'm going to blow it out with air, clean it out, take the sock off of it, put new I'm sorry guys, this heat is killing me. Put a new seal on it, clean it up, put new hoses on it, and then I'll go find an O-ring. I know I got one somewhere, and we'll put it back in. Then I'll get the tank stuck back up in there, and we'll see if we can get this thing to run on its own. All right, well, I've been laying under this truck for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And you look back there, you can see I got the fuel tank reinstalled. I got all the lines run. I ran an inline filter before the pump up here, and then that goes through the pump and up to the carburetor. So in the meantime, you see all these piles of wire and junk and fuel tank splitters and whatever else all came out of here. There's like 150 foot of fuel line that was not needed, and a bunch of wires running to stuff that I don't even know, and whatever else. But anyways, we got it, excuse me, we got it all done. We got our fuel system ran, so I'm gonna go ahead and let this down off of the jack.
You gotta put your neck on first.
And well, I gotta put the fuel neck on. Put the fuel neck on, let it down off the jack, and then we're gonna put some fuel in the tank and see if we can get this thing to start on its own fuel tank. Okay, I got the fuel system completely hooked up. There should still be a little bit of fuel in the carburetor from earlier. Hopefully it's enough for that pump to start pulling fuel. So let's see what happens. Got a little bit more fuel I can pour in here to prime. Can you see that filter down there and see if it's getting any fuel in it yet? No? Might not have put enough fuel in the tank for it to pick up. It's not sitting very level.
Put in about 3 gallons.
Yeah, something like that. Watch yourself. Here we go again.
Yeah, you got fuel.
Pulling it now?
Things going, look like it.
Alright, looks like we're pulling fuel now. Which means, oh yeah.
Just started doing that. My fuel got a little bit.
We're pulling nice clean fuel out of the tank, running on its own. Another step in the right direction and another step towards being able to drive it. Huh?
Check to see if the fuel gauge works.
Fuel gauge doesn't work, it's not hooked up. Alright, well, I'm going to take a break for a little minute because I'm about as cooked as you can get. And a few minutes we'll fire this thing up again and play with it some more. Alright, well, my buddy that owns the truck came over and he was happy hearing it running and everything, and he wanted to see if it moved. So I checked the transmission fluid and it needed some. So it wasn't on the stick. It was on the stick before I started it. It wasn't on the stick with it running. So I'm gonna put about 3 quarts in it. We'll fire it back up and check it. Not running all over the floor, is it, Pop?
No.
Speaking of running all over the floor, so far I've had this thing running and I haven't seen anything leaking anywhere. So that's a good sign. Yep, Pop's gonna go fire it back up. Check it, see if it's full.
Where'd the key go?
Right here.
Yeah, we're surprised the key even comes out now.
I don't know what his problem is. Can't start a truck without a key. Here we go again. much more than 4 quarts low, because 4 quarts just barely put it on the end of the dipstick. So we'll have to get some more later on and put it in, see what happens. Alright, we went and got 2 more quarts. I already poured one in. And go ahead and pour the second one in. Pop's gonna see if this old starter will give us one more thrill. And it's full. I'm gonna go and lay it in gear and see if it takes off on me, because I know we ain't got no brakes, so we're gonna work on that a little later. Let's see if it moves.
Oh yeah. Do a burnout.
Don't do that. It'll probably go through that house over there.
Alrighty, weekend's over. We're back to work. Time to finish up old Humpty Dumpty here. See if we can't put her back together again. So, got it running. We know it moves. Next thing we need to do is make sure it stops. And you get in here and go to push on that brake pedal, and I don't care what you use for leverage, how hard you push off of it, whatever, that thing ain't going down. So we've got another one. You guys probably aren't going to believe me, but this is brand new. It just got wet and surface rusted. So we're going to go ahead and take this one off, put that one on, see if we at least gain some pedal. If that's our problem, which I'm sure it is, and we get some pedal from it, we got brake hoses over there to replace the hoses. We'll flush out the calipers. That should pretty much give us what we need. So let's get started on it and see how it goes.
You just put a pan underneath it, see if it's grip.
Nah, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. A little bit of brake fluid.
fluid into something else and then we can pour it back into the new one?
No, we're not pouring this back in, it's nasty. Oh man.
You are weak this morning, huh?
I guess so. I didn't notice that, but that's not gonna work.
What?
Had the hose stuffed in the brake booster.
That's supposed to come out the carburetor, isn't it?
It does. But it's supposed to have like a little deal that goes on it to put it in there. It's just stuck in there.
Oh, is it on the carburetor or it just wasn't?
It's on the carburetor. It was just pushed in the hole in the booster.
There's a certain kind of fitting you need to put it on.
Yeah, I think I got some laying around somewhere. Alright, got that one off. I'm gonna grab some penetrating oil and just spray it in here. Help lubricate the rod a little bit. Booster might be bad too, I don't know. But we'll find out the hard way. And alright, I'll get that tightened down. See how it does. Alright, I got the master cylinder changed out, and as you can see, the rear is kind of gravity bleeding itself, which is not necessarily good, but it's kind of gravity bleeding. And I'm going to go in here and gently push on this pedal because I don't want to spray fluid all over. Gently push on this pedal and see if we actually have some pedal now. Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's pushing a whole bunch of air out. And I've got plenty of pedal I can push now, so. So that's good. Master cylinder solved that problem, which I pretty well knew it would. Now we're gonna get the front end jacked up, and I'll get underneath there, change out the brake hoses, flush out the calipers, see if we get some brakes. All right. I can figure out how to get these caps off.
Well, after sitting 26 years, it might be a little tough. So.
What I'm doing now, as I think I already mentioned, is replacing the rubber brake hoses. They go from the frame out to the caliper. I already disconnected my hard lines inside the frame, so I just got to disconnect the rubber hose from the caliper, and then it's got a bracket that holds it to the upper control arm. So I'll get those off after I get the wheel off, and we'll trade the hose out. Wondering if this thing was going to be glued on here, but doesn't seem to be. So, while we're in here, I'll go ahead and look at the brake pads. Probably need to change them anyway because they're old and brittle, but for right now they look fairly new. Not really going to worry too much about them. You see in here. So I got my brake hose. Like I said, I already got it disconnected from the frame. I got a bracket right here, and then it bolts to the caliper over here. So go ahead and get all that off. Here's a good indication that the hose is breaking down. When you touch it and it looks like that on your hand, that means that the outside's that bad, the inside's 10 times worse. So come over here.
I want to get on the other side so they can see.
Need a 7/16 for our banjo bolt. And it is. We got our old hose out now. Next thing I'm going to do is take my bleeder screw off of our caliper. Dad, can you get me a 10? There we go. Alright, now take my bleeder screw all the way out, and these are usually, I don't know, I hope you guys can see that, these are usually plugged up. So I'll go ahead and get that all cleaned out before I put it back together. But what I do, I've talked about this a lot before in other videos, but you might not have seen them, so I'll tell you again. The only way this brake caliper is bad is if the seal goes out in it and it starts leaking. So everybody goes, oh, the caliper hangs up, you got to change the caliper. It's not the caliper hanging up, it's that rubber hose that I just took off coming apart. And when you push on the brake pedal with the booster and all that, you got tons and tons of pressure that you're forcing fluid into this caliper and making that caliper push against your brake shoes or pads. Then when you let off, there's no pressure, there's not much pressure to return the fluid. So it locks in there and the hose is closed up and it doesn't push the pressure back through, and then that holds the caliper. Now when the brake hoses come apart, they will get the rubber and stuff from the inside of the hose. It will go in the caliper. So that's, as you can see here, we got brake parts cleaner. I took my bleeder screw out. I have my hose unhooked, and I'm going to flush this caliper as good as I can with brake parts cleaner. I just keep flushing it until it doesn't look like there's any fluid or anything dirty or anything coming out. So it takes a little bit. They've been in here for a long time. I'm gonna get some sawdust. Yes, please. Alright. That all looked pretty clean flushing out of there. So now what I'm going to do is just let it sit for a little bit. What I do is while I'm letting this side sit, I'll go over and change out the hose on the other side, or at least get it taken apart and do this, because all that brake parts cleaner will evaporate. You just got to do it. Let it sit there and it'll evaporate, and then you won't have any in there when you close everything back up. So I'm going to do that other hose. I'm going to clean out this bleeder screw. I'm going to make sure my banjo bolt's nice and clean. And then once all that's done, then we'll come back and we'll put this hose back on. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and go over and do the other side. I'll get back with you when this one's ready to put back together. Alright. Just to make sure we got everything out, brake parts cleaner wise and whatnot, I'm going to just take a blow nozzle with a rubber tip on it. I'll put it in over here where my bleeder screw would go. As you can see, still brake parts cleaner in there. And now we're nice and dried out. So I don't know that it would hurt if you left a little bit of brake parts cleaner in there, but I know it's better if you don't. So just blow out as much as we can. I know I said I'd let it sit and evaporate, but then I thought about blowing it out. So Alright. Got everything back on. Just gotta tighten it down, and it'll be in good shape. I'll finish up putting the other side back on, and we'll just bleed the brakes out. Alright. I got some mirrors that match with what the holes for what's supposed to be on this truck. So I'm gonna go ahead and put them on. You may be thinking, man, if you guys are gonna like body work that truck and everything else, why are you putting the mirrors on it? Mainly just because it's gonna be a while before all that gets done, and we want to drive it or anything like that, you know. It's good to have mirrors on it. We have them. Makes it look more complete. So slapping them on real quick. They're dirty. You can't see out of them. They've been sitting around for a long time getting dusty. So I figure they go real good with the truck. Alright, as you probably figured out, the tires are back on, truck's sitting back on the ground. Got the brakes all bled out. I only did the fronts, I didn't do the back because we're taking that bed off. And it'll be a lot easier to get to everything with the back brakes with the bed off. And at least knowing it has good front brakes and it's got a pedal, which means the rear brakes are doing something, it'll be enough to stop it to drive it around here. So, speaking of driving it around here, I'm going to fire it up, let it warm up a little bit, and then I know you guys are saying, oh, take it up and down the road, which I would take it up and down the road, but I don't know if you can see or not, but right there's a big slash in that tire, and right there's a big slash in that tire. That thing's not going to hold air. I'm not going to pull that wheel off right now, just so that we can drive it on the road and have just one tire on there. It's not really worth it. So I just want to make sure that it'll drive around the lot here, that the brakes are going to work, that it'll stop and go, and heck, I got enough property here, we can probably get it at least in the second gear. So what we're going to do, we're going to drive it around a little bit, see how it does, and then we'll get to working on the hood a little. As you can hear in the background, I got it fired up. I got it warmed up a little bit to temperature, and it's just sitting here idling. I'm gonna go ahead and get in it, put it in gear, drive it around the shop a couple times and see how it does. Make sure brakes work, all that kind of stuff. Brakes feel really good for only doing the fronts. Transmission feels good. Drives right away. We'll try to get a nice, really long run here. See if we can get it going fast enough to get it into second gear. Just because I want to see if it's going to shift. that's shifted. Good brakes. Alright. Shifted back to first, that's good. We got first and second. There's a really good chance we got third. It's a nice firm shift and everything's feeling pretty good, so I'm happy with that. Check the brakes. Oh yeah, she's got a little bit of love left in her. I spin the tires on gravel. I would try on the pavement, but not with that tire coming apart. I don't need to do no more damage, so. It shifts. It's doing pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and park her, get the hood fixed up, get it put back on the truck, and that ought to be enough for today. So, see you in a second. All right, we got our hood sitting over here, and it's just a typical round eye hood. It sat for a long time. People don't understand the principle of you know, pushing back before you push down, and they just push down on the hoods and it tacos them, folds them in half, whatever you want to call it. So split out on both sides. That side's a lot worse than this side, but I'm gonna go ahead and get a hammer and dolly, and I'm gonna try to get it kind of tapped back into shape. And then I don't necessarily like the braces that come off of the hinges and come up, because then that spaces your hood up off the hinge. You don't always have enough fluctuation in your hinge to get it down to where the hood sits even and whatnot. So I'll show you what I do to fix them. You might like it, you might not. So I'm gonna get the camera over there for you guys and I'll get started. All right, I know I said I was gonna get a hammer and dolly, but I figured I'd go ahead and, just get it cleaned up now, because we're gonna have to weld on it, so might as well get it cleaned up so we can weld later and all that kind of stuff first. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just gonna get it cleaned up on both sides, everywhere that I think I'm gonna need to weld, and then we'll continue on. got to clean a little bit more over here, and then I'll go ahead and weld up all this stuff on the edges. And then I'm sure you've already figured out we're going to put plates in here. I'll show you how we're going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that welded up, and then we'll start making our plates. That goes. Ready?
Yep.
Whoa.
4.
Yeah, more.
4.5.
4. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get my template made up. So I want to go, this is just rough, guys. I didn't like measure anything specific. Say 10 inches. It's going to be 10 right there. 10. 10, and then we need it to be about 1 inch and 3/4. Not what I wanted to do, but it'll still work. Okay, so we'll go 1 inch and 3/4 there, and then we'll go 1 inch and 3/4 over from there. I'm going to measure from here down about 4 inches and about 5.5 inches. So we'll go 4, 5.5. Say 1 inch. Okay. Let me get that cut out, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like, because right now it's a bunch of dots on a piece of paper and you're probably all confused. Alright, so here's my cutout. Most of you guys probably had figured out what it was going to look like by my dots, but anyways, we're going to put this on there like so. We'll weld it all the way around, and then we'll weld it around here, obviously when those are bent down. And that's going to take this was intentionally put in there when they built the hood, as like a crinkle zone or a crunch zone or whatever you want to call it. So if there was a front end collision, the hood was supposed to buckle right here, which it does a really good job of even when you don't want it to. So I'm gonna brace that crumple zone. It'll still crumple, but it won't when you're pushing down on the hood. When you go up, it's gonna tear this. When you go down, it won't. So I'm gonna cut 2 of these out of sheet metal. I'll bring them over here and we'll get them welded on and we'll show you what's going on.
Okay.
I got my piece all cut. I'm gonna tack it in place. I'm gonna work my way down and try to keep it flat. So here we go. Okay, well that's the gist of it there. I'm gonna weld that all in. We'll grind it all back down, and yes, you'll be able to tell it's there roughly, but not gonna be super noticeable. And someday when this hood gets body worked and painted, it may just be blended in. You never know. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish welding it all up and grind on it, and I'll show you what the finished product looks like. All right, obviously it's not 100% finished ground, but like I said, when we come back and do the body work, we'll finish it up and clean it up. So there it is, it's all on there, it's welded in, and that ain't going nowhere. So I still need to do the other side, but I'm out of time for today, and I'm also out of time for this video. Don't worry, if you like, we named it Humpty Dumpty. I think I may have mentioned that, or I may not have, but truck's name is Humpty Dumpty, and there will be more content on it. We're gonna take a regular fleet side bed and show you how to turn it into a dually bed and put it on there and do body work and who knows what else, but that'll be back on the channel in the future. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We got it running, we got it driving, we got it stopping, and we even got it looking a little bit better than it was. So it's about all I can do this go around, and it's about all I got time for. Pop says bye. Thank you guys so much for watching. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.